So we have some new video in, and this is James Comey's son-in-law, Troy Edwards. He just walked by our cameras on the Alexandria courthouse lawn. When asked for a comment by the press that was gathered there, he simply responded, "No, ma'am, not yet." Just a reminder, Troy Edwards stepped down late yesterday afternoon. It was just minutes after the indictment was announced against James Comey. Joining me now is someone who knows the ins and outs of the department very well. Greg Brower, former U.S. attorney, former DOJ official in the Bush and Obama administrations, and former FBI deputy general counsel. Obviously, Troy Edwards has a particular interest in this indictment, but he's certainly not the first lawyer who we have seen step down. What do you think about the loss of some of these, what seem to be career prosecutors?
Chris, it's a tough situation to be sure within DOJ, whether it's attorneys, prosecutors, FBI agents, and others. It has been a place for decades where simply doing the right thing without fear or favor, following the facts, applying the law fairly has been kind of the operating set of principles. And recent months and years have obviously changed that to some extent. We've seen not only purges of career public servants who have done nothing wrong and have simply done their job to the best of their ability. We've seen resignations because of the concern that politics is infecting the way DOJ operates. And so this is really an unprecedented situation that I think DOJ is facing, and I'm not sure it's going to improve anytime soon. And I think to your point, this latest example, the indictment of Jim Comey, I think just has a lot of people, certainly within the department, just like people outside the department, kind of wondering what is going on at DOJ and can we trust what's happening from DOJ?
Well, we just heard from President Trump, and he says the indictment of James Comey is just the beginning. Take a listen.
Now that James Comey has been indicted, who is the next person on your list in this retribution?
It's not a list, but I think there'll be others. I mean, they're corrupt. There'll be others. Look, that's my opinion. They weaponized the Justice Department like nobody in history. What they've done is terrible. And so I hope there are others, because you can't let this happen to a country.
So given that message from the president, what is this moment like for career officials inside the DOJ? And what are the conversations that you're hearing?
Well, like I said, I think it's challenging, and I think it's incumbent upon the political leadership at the Department of Justice who would clearly say that this is not true, that the department is not being politicized, that investigations and prosecutions are not being done for political reasons. If that's the case, it's incumbent upon DOJ leadership to be out front and to be out publicly talking about the fact that they are strictly adhering to traditional DOJ principles of prosecuting cases, investigating cases without fear or favor, and not for political reasons. But the more I think that leadership just allows this increasing belief on the part of the American public that the opposite is true, the more that will become their reality within DOJ. So this is going to be a kind of a moment of truth for DOJ leadership to address these issues head on and to be able to rebut the seemingly mounting evidence that many decisions, including this latest one, seems to be based on politics, seems to be based on a presidential directive as opposed to actual evidence. So they have a challenge on their hands.
You're an advisor to the group Justice Connection. It formed this year to help protect DOJ employees. So what do you even tell them in this moment?
Well, it's important, I think, for those who can to hang on. The men and women of the Department of Justice at every level, whether it's prosecutors or other attorneys, criminal agents, staff, these are some of the smartest, hardest working, most dedicated public servants I've ever been associated with. And so for those who feel that the mission is important, still important, and who can carry on, need to carry on. I mean, they need to kind of do their job as best they can. The problem for many of them is they fear facing a dilemma at some point whereby they're asked to do something that they can't legally, morally, ethically do. And that's a tough dilemma to face. And so that's why we've seen, I think, so many leaving, because they just don't think they can carry out the current mission as they understand it. But again, it's a department, it's a mission that, frankly, the American people and our democracy can't survive without. It's incredibly important that DOJ and everything it does is functioning every day. Criminal enforcement, all the litigation that the DOJ handles for the United States of America. It's just incredibly important. It's not an optional department or agency that the democracy could get by without. It's absolutely critical to our democracy, and it depends on the people doing the work to have faith in the system to be able to do that work effectively.
Greg, if I can, I want to play for you what a former clerk for Supreme Court Justice and Trump ally Neil Gorsuch said about this last night.
I would say to these lawfare Democrats that politicized and weaponized intel agencies and law enforcement to go after President Trump, his top aides, and his allies, these lawfare Democrats better lawyer up, because justice is definitely coming.
So there's a debate that's going on about whether or not Donald Trump actually thinks he can win prosecutions here if at the very least what he wants to do is disrupt their lives. Top lawyers, defense lawyers, aren't free. Some come at a very high cost. And even if you're well off, that can quickly mount if you have to defend yourself in a federal case. Is the financial and emotional pain potentially the point here?
Well, I think it's certainly part of it. You know, there's an old saying that the power to indict is the power to destroy. But the reality is, Chris, that the power to investigate can often be the power to destroy. And so it can be very, very challenging for those on the wrong end of an investigation. But to add one more point about the clip you just showed, you know, this whataboutism that we hear all the time from certain people on the right, it just really isn't borne out by the facts. You know, there is no evidence, frankly, that the Justice Department and the intelligence community was politicized or weaponized during the Biden years. There's just no evidence of that. I'd like to, you know, get Chris Wray's impression of that and the other leaders of the intelligence community agencies in DOJ. I'd like to hear, you know, if them respond to that. There simply is no evidence. No one has been prosecuted. No one has been fired for politicization of the intelligence agencies. It's a talking point that is simply not borne out by the facts.
What worries you most in this moment, Greg?
Well, I guess I get back to just my concern about the American people's faith in the system of justice. You know, when I would go into court on behalf of the United States of America, just like, you know, AUSAs around the country do every day, there's an expectation on the part of jurors and judges that those lawyers are there for the right reason. They're there to do justice. They're there to tell the truth. They're there to perhaps give up when they don't have a case and not pursue cases that shouldn't be pursued. That sort of presumption that has girded our system for decades, I'm afraid, is dissipating to some extent because of recent events. And if we lose jurors and we lose judges and we lose ordinary folks who we need as witnesses in federal cases because they don't really believe the system is working in a way that's fair and apolitical, then we basically lose our system. And I don't need to tell you or your viewers, Chris, if we lose our system of justice, we've lost a huge part of our democracy and what makes America America. And that's my chief concern, is that people are just watching a lot of this and wondering what is really going on here, and can we trust anything that's coming out of Washington? And so I think it's incumbent upon our leaders to address that, because the opposite is going to create a significant problem for our country.
Greg Brower, thank you.